Good afternoon, guys. This is Winter, and today I'm joined by Aegis, and we are the Glacial Shield podcast. We're doing another music reaction where I know the song, I know the artist, and I'm showing Aegis the artist a little bit. In this case, Aegis, I think you know Slipknot, don't you?
Yeah, I listened to a fair bit of Slipknot when I was, especially when I was younger. Just when you're learning all this new metal music. When I was young, I was learning about Disturbed. Stumbled on Slipknot because of sadly it was because of Guitar Hero 3 and Before I Forget. But that kind of blew the lid off it. So I am a big fan of Slipknot.
Right. And maybe the hint into why you've never heard Snuff is in what you just said. You were looking for metal. And Snuff is probably one of Slipknot's softest songs, if you don't include creepy songs like Scissors or Prosthetics, which, while they're not loud, heavy metal, they're not exactly, let's go with they're not exactly heartfelt, or they're heartfelt in the disturbing way. This song is called Snuff, and it's about a long lost love, but it's also about the damage that someone can receive from a breakup. And I like it. You'll see as you listen. The biggest thing I want you to pick up on is one half of the song is very much about Corey Taylor, the lead singer, discussing his weaknesses, his flaws, and the other half is discussing her weaknesses and her flaws in the breakup. It's a very heartfelt song. You're going to hear right away the audience sings along with him the entire song. Um, and then, just for fun, and so everybody knows, we're going to do a part 2 of this video where Aegis hears Disaster Piece for the first time, just for the sake of contrasting Corey Taylor's skills. Aegis, are you excited?
Yeah, just my first question: why do you want to listen to a live or acoustic version first?
So, so this song, I guess it isn't really acoustic in the main version of the song. I personally find the music video, even though I understand the intention behind it, to be rather strange. Like a lot of not Disturbed, I'm sorry, a lot of Slipknot videos, and I find it's distracting from the intention of the song. And not only that, it's just this song is Corey Taylor's song. You can tell he wrote it. It's his emotions, and to hear him play it exactly the way he feels it should be played, it's very emotional. It's almost like hearing the Sound of Silence cover by Disturbed live versus the CD version. Both are fantastic, but that just stripped down, natural sounding version to me is so much better.
Unedited, raw, like you can hear the feeling instead of hearing all the editing.
Absolutely, and I think you'll know what I mean as soon as this starts. You'll see why I've chosen the live version, explicitly this live version.
Okay, sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I've listened to Stone Sour and specifically Through Glass, so I'm pretty familiar with Corey Taylor and his acoustic side. But and I'll say that I also like his acoustic voice, and no like gruff or growl or not a lot of it. So he has a good side to him.
Yeah, and I recently heard his song called "Home," which is just another song by him that's very acoustic. And I guess I was a fan of Slipknot. I mean, I've known Slipknot since high school, and it's not that I liked the album Iowa. That's probably a strong phrasing. I liked some songs off of Iowa. Um, and I recently came back to them and I heard We Are Not Your Kind when it came out, and that's easily become one of my top 5 favorite albums. But I had not heard a lot of Corey Taylor's acoustic side because I didn't know Stone Sour that well. And then I heard this song live for the first time, and I was like, man, he has got a voice.
Yeah, he's got a lot of talent. And also, We Are Not Your Kind was a solid album. That's another big reason why I would love to see them live.
Absolutely. And again, I don't know it, I like I said, We Are Not Your Kind is probably in my top 5 albums right now, but the earnest truth is I don't know if as an actual Slipknot album, I would say it topples Iowa. But Iowa, even though I like its music, it's not fully my style of music. I don't know how to say it. I enjoy Iowa, but there are things on Iowa that I don't need to hear a second time, let alone repeatedly. So let's start off with Snuff, and then we'll switch over to Disaster Piece, which is off of Iowa.
Sounds good. Let's get her going.
Pause this. So
Yep.
I'm going to leave it to you, Aegis. I know that thanks to YouTube, we need to pause fairly frequently. I will say this song will be very hard to pick the right time to pause. Just pause when you feel ready to pause, and maybe we should give it, no more than a minute play time at a time before you pause it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, the way I would launch break up is probably verse, break it up, chorus.
What do you
Okay.
think?
Uh, no, that's. I read that as it being pretty deep, actually. Uh, as somebody who has listened to it more, what's your take on what he was just, singing about there?
So I always picked up on the line "bury your secrets in my skin and come away with innocence." I took that as a significant other who dumped all their problems onto him and then walked away, and kind of left him with the depression and mental struggles that maybe that person used to get rid of from themselves. Um, but it also says "leave me with my sins." I mean, everyone knows Corey Taylor had some major problems in his life, including significant drug use. I believe there's been allegations of sexual assault by his family members on him. I mean, the guy has had a very screwed up life. I think it's just talking about that. Someone used him to get rid of all their problems, but then they left him alone with his own issues. What about you? What are you picking up on?
Oh, that's pretty fucked up. Well, um, I'm not really sure what to take from it. I definitely see what you're talking about there. Like when I read love is just a camouflage, what resembles rage. So maybe I guess what you said is true. Like it looks like maybe somebody close or like family or someone that loved him that was just I guess a camouflage or something that could mask what their true intentions were, which was a lot darker.
Yep, and I can see that side of it. Like I said, this song very much flips back and forth between discussing this other person's point of view and his. I was never sure with that line if it was saying that he used love to basically put a band-aid over his own anger, or whether someone was mentally or physically abusive to him in a relationship, and they covered it and used it as an excuse by like saying "I love you." It's very hard to tell. There are other parts of the song that very clearly say it was the woman that's the problem and also him that was the problem. But I always found that line very vague, but also very interesting.
Mm. So I didn't know about any of his history and like I guess issues that he had with family growing up or people like that. I didn't know that. He seems like he was a really troubled guy then, which I guess if you read into the lyrics of his songs, makes sense.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to get into too much detail about things that are that serious, especially when I don't even know if it's ever been confirmed in court. But I know there's been allegations of people in his life when he was a child sexually assaulting him. I know he became a serious drug addict for a long time. And I think I had read a story somewhere that he overdosed on some drug and his friends literally left him in a garbage can, or like a big garbage dumpster, because they didn't want to get caught with his body.
Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah. All right. I think we've gone dark enough. We should let Corey speak for himself a little bit more.
Okay, Corey, sing us in. Okay, that got dark. So,
How's that for a punch in the face emotionally?
man, wow.
Yeah. My
Uh,
smile was taken long ago. If I can change, I hope I never know. I can say I personally related to that line for a long time. I don't know if you've ever had a moment like that where you realize you wasted so much of your life, and it's almost like, oh God, I hope that was the way I actually had to be, and I hope I don't realize at some point that I could have changed myself and saved myself years.
oh.
That's a hard one to describe, but I heard that line and I was like, oof, good point. Good way to phrase it too. Like I hope I never know that I could have been different than I was.
Well, you'd want to never know because you might have been better. Maybe have been better.
Exactly.
Man.
Exactly. Um, but yeah, Did you notice? I know I'm jumping away from the lyrics. I'm sure you have some lyrical comments. Did you notice when it showed the crowd, every single face you could see was singing along?
Oh well, just it's. I feel like it's A because people maybe understand and love the song, but also maybe to support him because it is a hard song. You can even tell that it's hard, just how he is reacting to it emotionally too, right? Even in his voice.
Absolutely. All right, so you've been reading along with the lyrics. Why don't you give me a breakdown of what you're thinking?
Okay, so well, first off, these are just very deep. Like my heart is just too dark to care. I can't destroy what isn't there. Like so, whatever has happened has just royally screwed it with him mentally and emotionally. And, he can't destroy what isn't there because whoever did the damage left, whether it be a significant other, a family member, whatever. What do you think?
Yep. I always took that line as because I think he says, if you love me, don't let me know. Run away before I know. I think is the is the lines before that. I'm not actually reading the lyrics right now. And then he says, "My heart is just too dark to care. I can't destroy what isn't there." And that is the way I interpret it. And again, this song has a lot of interpretation, and I think an important thing to note on this song is a lot of people, when they hear it, put their own life experience onto it, especially with breakups, which it can make it hard to talk about. But when I think about this song, I think about all my past relationships and how, in one way or another, I screwed them up or someone else screwed them up, and it almost leaves you with the mentality of like, is it better to just not fall in love and not risk tearing apart something you care about, or is it fair to let someone else love you and then risk destroying it again and hurting them?
Mm,
That's kind of what I took from those parts. I don't know if you hear that, but that's how I've always interpreted those lines.
yeah, no, I can't say. Uh, I mean, I didn't quite take that from it, but I do see how that could be interpreted like that. Like, I
It's
don't
going
know.
to get darker. It's going to get darker. I'm not going to lie to you. There's some darker lines coming.
Interesting. And it looks like the second chorus is actually different than the first, so maybe that means,
It is.
somebody
Hey,
else
stop
is.
reading ahead. Stop reading ahead, you dink.
Okay, let's press on. Oh damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
yeah. Do you see why I wanted to do this live?
Yeah. 100%.
All right.
It's way better than seeing just, lyrics from across a black screen with like a studio album or a studio version.
Absolutely. All right.
Okay.
Hit me with what you're thinking about the lyrics.
Okay, so first off, who do you think this POV is from? A girls or a guys?
I think I think there's parts where he says you, and I think that's him basically saying what he believes the female he was dating thinks. I think the parts where he says I are actually from his point of view. So
Yep.
like in this part, I think he says, you couldn't love enough, you couldn't hate enough to love. Was that supposed to be enough? I think that's him asking her, like, if you can't have that strong emotional rage in the or range, sorry, not rage. That's the next song. That strong emotional range negatively. You refuse to hate anyone. You refuse to blame anyone. You refuse to be that mean, but you also can't have the other strong emotional range of love, emotional connection. Was the fact that you refuse to hate me supposed to be enough for me to love you?
Ah, I get.
Does
Damn.
that make sense?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. If uh, I guess if they didn't hate them, does that warrant enough like for him to love the person? I don't know. Wow.
Right,
Um.
because I think he's coming at it from, this person was probably there for him, or at least was there at the same time that he was having a lot of problems. And unlike a lot of people, they didn't run away.
Yeah.
But was that supposed to be enough for him to feel like it was an even relationship?
Hmm. I'm not sure. But so it sounds like in the verse he's missing whoever now isn't there,
Absolutely.
who he couldn't
Um,
face a life without their light. So obviously maybe they were a positive influence, which I guess is this person who refused to leave. But when it says all that was ripped apart when you refuse to fight, like fight for their relationship, fight for, him, what do you take from that?
I take it as the balance that I was talking about extreme emotional range. Why do I keep saying rage? It's because I know that disaster piece is coming. Um,
Yeah.
but I think it's the same thing. She refuses, and I'm going to say she because I know he has an ex. This was about an ex, and I know that he is heterosexual. At least to my awareness, he's heterosexual. So she refused to fight for the relationship. She refused to have arguments with him. I can connect with that. I have more than one ex who refused to ever have an argument or a fight with me, which made the relationship seem very blissful right up until the day that it wasn't.
Right
So
until she
again,
hits the fan.
right. So basically, you refuse to have that extreme emotional rage. You refuse to ever argue with me. You refuse to ever hash things out. But at the end of the day, nothing got fixed. You refuse to go that extra step that's required for love, which does require disagreement, counterpoints. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess when he says fight, does fight necessarily mean like arguments and getting, emotional, or does it mean, you can handle it more even-headedly?
I think it could be both. I think it could be literal and somewhat sentimental.
Hmm.
Anything else in that section you wanted to talk about? Because I know there's a lot in it.
Well, that's the verse. So the chorus, uh, like you said, you couldn't hate enough to love. Is that supposed to be enough? So that person obviously didn't run away. Is that enough of a warrant for him to, think, hey, cool, she didn't leave. I can love her then. She's worthy of it, or I'm worthy of her. That doesn't seem like it's the case, or it should be the case. I only wish you weren't my friend, then I could hurt you in the end. So maybe this person was a friend, and then they became more than a friend because they stayed longer or stuck around.
Exactly. I think it is a scenario where a friend became a partner, and then when things end, where do you go from there? The
It's
person
very,
was your friend, right?
yeah, how do you go back? Yep, sometimes can't.
Especially if you emotionally needed them, especially if you needed them before they were dating you, right? Like if this was someone that he cared about and was maybe his crutch
Yep,
before he even dated them, you could see how messy that could get, right?
of course, yeah. Hmm,
All right.
damn. Damn.
Damn, son, where'd you get that?
Shit.
All right. Let's hit play before we get stupid.
God damn. So, what's funny? I didn't scroll down all the way, so I was like, oh, I guess there's no more lyrics, and just solos for the next minute and a half. No, there's a third chorus. Shit.
Yeah, so you didn't get to cheat your way through the entire song by reading it ahead.
Well, I wasn't reading ahead. I was like, oh, okay, there's more. Good. But
Yeah.
damn. So, shit. What do you think from that?
I think the Angels lie to keep control line is soul punching, to be 100% honest, because it insinuates that everything before that line was a facade or a lie that both of them put up.
Mm,
Uh, she couldn't actually take everything that she had to tolerate to be with them, but she kept up the facade because she wanted it or because she didn't know how to walk away. And then when she eventually did cave and gave him what he wanted by running away from him, he gets mad and says, "You're all the same." Even though earlier in the song, he clearly distinguishes that part of what was important about her was she didn't run away, but he felt like she should run away.
so, where he says, break yourself against my stones and spit your pity in my soul, it sounds like he he's basically saying, at least what I'm taking is that he doesn't want pity for what he's going through, and if that's what he's going to get, then he doesn't want it.
That's definitely a way to take it. And if you think of stones as like his walls that he's put up and she's throwing herself against them
Yep.
and it's damaging her, yeah, it's definitely a way to interpret that part of that song. Absolutely. But I love the shift to anger because even though he got exactly what he expected and exactly what he thought was probably best for her, which was for her to run away,
Yep.
he still winds up blaming her for it,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty human and pretty realistic, right?
Especially since, he then keeps like pushing her way further by saying you're all the same, like angels. Like in that case, it could be maybe she was trying to be an angel to support him and be the strong one, but obviously he was a lot to handle. All the shit he's going through, a lot of
Absolutely.
baggage, right? It's a lot to take.
So now that you've heard it, oh, I do want to go over the one last line. If you
It,
still care, don't ever let me know.
yeah,
What did you think of that line?
that's deep. That says a lot about people in relationships and after relationships end, I think. And you don't want to know.
It's better not to know, even though your entire body wants you to go find out or to be told, right? But
And really, what would it get you if you knew?
nothing.
It doesn't
And
do anything positive, really. It's only, I think, only
it,
bad.
at the end of the day, going back to someone usually works out badly. Now, I do have a question for you, because
Mm.
this is a question that's lingered for me. Why is this called Snuff?
Snuff. Huh. Okay.
There's
Give me point two, and once
So snuff to me is two different things. It's either cocaine or it's a snuff film. So
okay.
I could see it.
Yeah,
I can
keep going.
see it.
Sorry.
I can see it two ways, and I want to hear what you think about this. Snuff could refer to the fact that he was addicted to cocaine when the contents of this song happened, and maybe it was causing some of the problems, or it could be referring to you're watching how his life with this woman was ended. In other words, it is a snuff film for their relationship, or even potentially it's the snuffing out of his life or the snuffing out of his hope.
I was just gonna say like snuffed out, like ended, things ending badly in this case. I think it's maybe all those wrapped in a neat little bow because as I think it's rumored or reported or even people know that he was involved in addictions to drugs. Who's to say cocaine or that kind of substance wasn't, one of them? So something like that. The relationship that he had with this girl snuffed out just by how toxic and how really negative the whole thing seemed like it devolved into at the end. Uh,
Yeah.
hmm,
Now it's important to note that one of the people who helped write this song, I do feel like I should bring it up. I believe they helped write it or they helped create the video. Basically, somebody did die who was involved with this song in some capacity, and ever since this song has been somewhat tributed to them. And I unfortunately I don't know the full details, but I just wanted to note that in these live versions, Corey always tributes the song to the person who passed away. So it is since it was first recorded, it has taken on almost a third meaning about the loss of a friend.
okay, so hmm,
So,
okay,
but again, that was not how the song was originally written, right? That's become what it's become.
right. It's a result of this person dying. It's like a tribute song out of them, kind of. So,
Right.
is this a song that's performed live sometimes by Slipknot? Like, is it a Slipknot song, or is it like a Corey Taylor song?
It is a Slipknot song. I believe they cover it live. This is definitely the most famous version of this song. Explicitly this show because the fans sung along with it so well. There's
Mm.
another. The reason I wanted to send it to you was there actually is another live version where he sings just as well, but the audience isn't singing along as well. In fact, they actually interrupt him a few times throughout the song.
Mm. That
So
wouldn't capture the same kind of feel. Shit.
no,
I bet you it wouldn't
uh,
feel nearly as well. It might feel the same but different from Slipknot because that's you have like the metal, the instrumentals, maybe different backing vocalists instead of it just being so like uh, what's the word? Like not unique, but it's us all focusing on Corey Taylor live and only him.
exactly.
Intimate,
And
intimate.
intimate is a very good word because I would say the Slipknot version is still very stripped down. But you're right; it's far less intimate because you've got 8 other guys contributing to it in some way. Especially if it was live, they would all be on the stage, right?
Yeah. And especially if it's a music video, because you're not gonna be able to, I guess, see him emotionally react or even just focus on one person or like listen to it. It's a lot of like air quote noise. So it's not
Uh-huh.
noise like the song is noise, but lot of like stuff that's gonna distract you. Hmm, man,
Absolutely.
that's a
All right.
that's a deep tune. Jesus.
All right. So I got you. I got to get you to give me a 1 to 10 scale on this. What do you think?
Hmm. Well, shit. What's a 10? Is a 10 Creeping Death on Metallica? And what's a 0? Uh, uh, Kesha? This is like an easy 7 or an 8.
Nice. That's not bad. Now, what would you say the negatives are about this song? What didn't you like about it?
Mm, I don't know, because it wasn't too short. Uh, Acoustic songs, I'm usually a fan of acoustic songs. Maybe maybe a like a little bit like drums in the background, not like heavy drums, but like something in the background, have like an extra like beat or some bass. But that may take away from the actual like goal of the song. I don't know. Just I'd have to listen to it more, but I think it was decent for what it was right now, but maybe a little longer, maybe a little more time for that guitar solo in the middle there. What do you rate it?
Yeah. I put it at an 8.5. I wouldn't say it's the most emotional song I've ever heard. I wouldn't even say it's the most emotional song on the topic. However, there were some very standout lyrics in this. I think the line about angels lie to keep control
Mm,
is probably one of the more powerful lines I've heard in a long time in a song, especially the way he sings it. But that just, you know, that that is what it is. I agree with you that this song isn't maybe as perfect as some people make it out to be, but I still think it's a very powerful emotional song that I can connect to.
Probably in like the well, out of Slipknot's song album or discography, it's probably one of their better songs, I'd say. Eh?
It is. It is definitely one of their better songs. I would say it's definitely their best slow song, but that's just my opinion.
Mm,
All right. We have a whole other song to record.
yep.
So we're going to butt out for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed our reaction. Specifically, I suppose Aegis's reaction because I've heard it before. You guys have a good night.
Later, dudes and dudettes.